NVIDIA Ferrari Edition, the heart of the race.
A good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome to round 2 of the Formula SimRacing Pro Championship. We're here at the Chinese Grand Prix at the Shanghai International Circuit. We'll be driving a race of 45 laps later this afternoon. My name is Felix from Delft, and joined in the commentary booth with me is Ian Breslin. Welcome, Ian. How are you?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm pretty good today.
That's great to hear. I'm looking forward to some amazing racing here from the Pro Championship drivers. Let's take a look at the track that the drivers are going to be driving at Shanghai International Circuit. Ian, what do you have for me about this circuit?
Well, it's a 16-turn circuit at a full length of 5.4 kilometers. First made its appearance on the Formula 1 circuit calendar in 2004. That's also the same year from where the fastest lap was coming from, which is Michael Schumacher's fastest race time lap of 1 minute 32 seconds. Interesting fact is that the layout of the circuit is actually designed to make it look like the Chinese character Shang, which is something that I don't think is widely known.
No, exactly. I didn't know that. Do you know the meaning of that Chinese?
It's the first word for the word Shanghai.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's a really nice fact to know. Thanks for that. Let's have a look at the car that the drivers will be using. The 2019 Formula SimRacing car, obviously. Around engine power is around 933 brake horsepower. The top speed of up to 370 kilometers per hour. I don't think the drivers will be getting that high here at this circuit, but they will definitely try to get as fast as possible. There's a long back straight in this track. Then the weight, about 740 kilos. The drivers have 2 fuel mixtures to their use, a lean mixture and a rich mixture. And then they also have 2 boost modes, which is a race and a qualifying boost mode. Basically, they will only use the qualifying boost mode in qualifying. Otherwise, they will probably blow their engines if they do use it in the race.
Yeah, I mean, they could sparingly maybe use it for one straight, but I wouldn't recommend it. Exactly.
So let's jump into the qualifying session. The drivers have been doing qualifying now for almost 5 minutes. So the first laps have been set right now. But let's have a look how the drivers are coping with the pressure right now. So currently leading the qualifying session, it's Mark Hutchinson, race winner of the last race out in Melbourne. So far doing a good job, setting down a 1 minute 32.176. Pretty quick lap time.
Certainly is. And at the moment everybody is reasonably close in times as well. So it should be an interesting qualifying session.
It will definitely be. Also, for the viewers, something nice that's added in the overlay this race is the track map. You can see it on the right-hand side, the right bottom side of your screens. The green parts on the track, those are the DRS zones on this track. You have 2 of them, one on the main straight and one on the back straight. Then you can see all sorts of dots in the garage and on the tracks. basically the dot color, the color of the dot itself represents the team, and most of the times represents the livery of the team, so it matches the color a little bit. When there's a blue circle around the dot, it means it's on an out lap here in qualifying, or if it's in the race, that means the driver is one lap down, so a lapped driver. If there's a purple circle around the driver, it means he's the quickest of the session at that time. And if there's a green circle around the driver, that means that we are currently looking at that driver. So you can see with Marek Godep coming out of the final corner that he would have a green circle. So we're focused on him.
Yeah, I'd say the new overlay here is, I think, a fantastic addition to FSR. It looks nice and clean, and it's conveying a lot of information all at the one time. So it's great to see.
Definitely, Marek Godek, as we just saw him going through first couple of corners, couldn't manage to keep the car straight out of turn 3 and spun the car around. That's a qualifying lap wasted for him, and he's gonna have to find his form, because he's in P3 right now, next to his teammates Tom Satterley and Ruben Tissing. But I'm sure they would like to beat that iSim RS driver of Mark Hutchinson.
Absolutely. I could say probably going to be a bit of a rivalry that will continue throughout the entire season between these two teams.
Yeah, I definitely think so. These teams have been at the front in Melbourne. Both of the teams have been, and also they have at least Mark has shown the results already in Melbourne. Right now, though, as I am talking, Mateusz Koolman just took away that provisional pole position from Mark Hutchinson with a 1:32.095. Great lap from Mateusz, just under a tenth quicker than Hutchinson.
Absolutely, that's it's an interesting qualifying session when the gaps are being measured in the hundreds and the thousands and not the tenths.
It definitely is. Let's have a look at Tom Satterley, also a Go Speed driver. So if Mateusz Koolman is able to put his car on the front row, perhaps Thomas Satterley is also able to do that, as he's got the same car. Now you can see the steering wheel through these bends of 7, 8 and 9 is pretty stable. Not a lot of corrections he has to make, so it looks like their car is relatively stable. Now,
yeah,
this section of the track is very difficult, especially in qualifying trim. A lot of power on the rear wheels, and a long right-hander puts a lot of load on those rear left tires and makes you spin quite easily, but he manages to get through there. And now the DRS opens down the back straight to a hard braking zone, braking at roughly 80 meters even, locks up slightly, turns it into the hairpin, gets a nice exit there.
Shouldn't cost him too much time.
I don't think so either. And this corner is also difficult. If you go too wide and you see the AstroTurf on the right, will kill your lap. Now let's see what Satterley is able to do.
Oh, lovely.
There he goes, up to provisional pole position. 2 purple sectors, Sector 1, Sector 2, both the quickest of the session. And Sector 3 wasn't that quick, or wasn't that much quicker than anybody else, but still a great lap, and just over half a tenth quicker than his teammate Mateusz Koolman.
What was particularly interesting about that was that he wasn't actually pushing, or it didn't look like he was pushing all that hard. He looked in total control throughout that lap.
Exactly. Like we said, the car looks really stable for them, and that's something nice to have in qualifying. Will it pay out for them in the race? We'll see later, of course. Now Hutchinson will be trying to retaliate, of course. Coming to the line right now, up to P2.
7 thousandths of a second separating the two.
That is definitely not a big margin, and Hutchinson will be biting his tongue for that. He definitely wants to get that pole position for sure, but the gaps right now really, really close between the first 3 drivers. Let's have a look a little bit further down the field. Luca D'Amelio and Victor Ivanov are fighting for the last couple of spots within the top 10. Obviously, only the top 10 drivers have to start on the softest compound. If you qualify outside of the top 10, you are allowed to start on one of the harder compounds. Obviously, we have the soft, the medium, and the hard compound here. So you also can see that on the left-hand side on the tower, you can see the yellow. That means the soft. The white would mean a medium tire, and the orange one would mean a hard tire. So it would be pretty easy to distinguish for the viewers at home as well.
And Peter Schultz has stuck himself right in between Luca D'Amelio and Victor Ivanov there at the moment. He should be reasonably happy with that. It's a pretty good lap time.
Definitely is. Now Ivanov, he's pushing, definitely pushing. A bit of oversteer there coming out of turn 11, turn 12. Let's see what he can do at the end of this lap. In the meantime, also, Mateusz Koolman is going pretty quick in Sector 2. As I say that, goes to the quickest lap time of the session with almost 2 tenths to spare.
I wonder if Satherley's going to have anything in the arsenal to be able to respond to that.
Yeah, indeed, he's got a couple of attempts left now. Let's see what Victor Ivanov is able to do. Coming to the line, doesn't improve on his lap time, stays in P13.
Of course, the track conditions are getting better throughout the session as more rubber is being laid down. So we would expect some of these times to start coming down towards the end of the session.
Good. Let's have a look. Christian Lazaro is on his hot lap as well. Final sector, final corner even for him. Let's see what he's able to do. Actually, this is his out lap, so let's go on board with Christian Lazaro. P14 currently for him. Coming into turn 1 is a very, very long right-hander. In the race also, it's pretty challenging for these drivers to make sure that left front tire isn't worn too much, because otherwise you will definitely struggle in that first corner and maybe get overtaken if you have too much tire wear and just can't get through the corner cleanly anymore.
Absolutely. We saw in the ACA race earlier on that a lot of drivers were getting caught out late on in their stints and were just being dragged a little bit to the left in there and costing them serious amounts of time.
Yeah. Right, so Lazaro looking good so far for sector 24.5. Personal improvement. Perhaps we'll be able to snatch up to P10 maybe even from Tom Ondermenger right now. In the meantime, Tom Satherley is on his outlap, so he will be somebody to look out for. Also, David Mrocek, currently in P4, is somebody to look out for, also in an outlap. Mrocek was leading the race in the Melbourne Grand Prix for a little while. After an incident, though, dropped down the field quite badly and lost a lot of points that he could have gotten. Now, let's see what Lazaro can do. 2 green sectors for him. Let's see what this last sector can bring him. Brings him only 1 position up to P13 instead of P14. So still an improvement for him. Maybe not as much as he would have liked.
Especially given the improvements in sector 1 and 2. You'll be disappointed not going higher up than that.
Indeed. Now Tom Satherley, like we said, was on his outlap. Now on his hot lap. First couple of corners for him. Looks a little bit less stable than it did before the last lap. Maybe because of the car in front of him. I'm not sure. I think that car in front of him is on an outlap. Yeah, and moves out of the way nicely there. Don't know if it cost him any time. First sector looks still decent. Not an improvement for himself, but still decent compared to the other times around him.
Romer Tissing was on a decent lap there until the very last turn. He made a little bit of a mistake and it ultimately ruined his lap, and unfortunately for him.
Yeah, unfortunate for him indeed. Tom Satherley is also still on a good lap. Second sector is an improvement for him. 27.3 there. Now this last sector is going to be important. We saw him lock up slightly for this hairpin last time around. Maybe if he improves slightly there, he will be able to challenge Mateusz Koolman. As I say, that Mrocek improves as well. Goes in between Satherley and Koolman. Let's see what Satherley can do now coming out of the last corner. It's the apex nicely. DRS open for the last run to the line. What is it going to be? P2. right in between Mrocek and Coleman again.
Yes, that's it was a pretty good lap, and it looked like it was going to be faster than it was.
Yeah, I bet Sadly will be slightly disappointed, but not too much appetite as they're making a mistake as well. So
he was faster than Coleman in Sector 1, but just that little bit slower in Sector 2 and 3.
Yeah, exactly. But still a 1-2 right now, at least for the Ghost Speed drivers. So definitely not a bad position to be in, but I'm sure Sadly would like to be on that front row, or at least the first position.
Mrocek is starting to leave the pits now as well for his outlap, with Mart Hutchinson down behind him as well. So it's really all going to come down to this last run at this point.
Yep, a lot of drivers coming out of the pits, as you can see also on the track map. A lot of drivers with blue circles around them coming out of the pit lane. Viktor Ivanov has just started or finished his lap, I should say, and not an improvement for him this time again. So Ivanov not able to really find the pace here at the moment, down in P13. Right, so the first driver that is going to cross the line for his last attempt, I think, is Mateusz Koolman. I think he's leading this group. Yeah, he definitely is, as you can see on the track map, coming into the last hairpin, turn 14. So let's keep an eye out on him. Obviously already on the pole position, so he's gonna have to defend that position. But we'll be the first to set a time, so this is gonna have to be a good lap, because if he doesn't improve here and others do improve, he has no time to react, or no laps to react anymore.
It's a tidy little entry through the first couple of turns, but he did seem to struggle a little bit there with the grip coming out of that turn. May have cost him a little bit of time.
So also keep an eye out on the drivers behind him. His first sector, 24.384. Now, first one to also set a first sector time is gonna be David Mrocek. What he sets down is going to be, let's have a look, 24.312, so slightly quicker than Mateusz Koolman in that first sector. Improvement for David Mrocek as well. I think David Mrocek is on a good lap, and Mateusz Koolman abandoned his lap, so his qualifying is over.
Yeah, he didn't. He had a bit of a rough lap that time there. He just seemed to have a little bit of problem with traction in a few different sections of the track.
So Mrocek is the one to watch right now. Hutchinson definitely will be trying to. Quick first sector for Hutchinson as well. 24.285, not a personal improvement, but definitely quicker than all of the drivers that are faster than him on the standings right now. So
Mrocek was down just a little bit on Coleman's middle sector. He was at a 27.4 against 27.2 of Coleman.
Indeed, so this last sector is going to be important for him.
Oh, and Tom Satterley is really motoring out there.
Yeah. So, no improvement for Mrocek. What's going to be for Hutchinson? Out of the last corner, he comes over the line. It's going to be P4, no improvement for him. So Satterley is the next one to cross the line. Up to P2, P1. Wow.
P1.
Great lap time there. Only 13 thousandths quicker than his teammate Mateusz Koolman, but a great lap from the Ghost Speed driver, and puts himself on pole position. A couple of drivers that still have to finish their laps. Luca D'Amelio in the last sector, and Philip Anderson. Luca D'Amelio didn't improve. Philip Anderson, also from SimRacing. Let's see where he finishes his qualifying session. Will be P18 for him. And that finishes up this qualifying session. great session we've had there with a lot of action and trading blows between GoSpeed and iSimRS, between Mark Hutchinson, Tom Satherley, David Murchek and Mateusz Kolman. Great qualifying session, and I think that it's going to be something even better coming up in the race.
Yeah, it really sets up the race nicely to see this back and forth between these drivers and these teams. It's going to be an exciting one.
It definitely is, and we're going to go for a small 5 to 10 minute break. We'll be back with you to comment the live race in roughly 5 minutes time. 45 laps is going to be, so grab yourself a cup of coffee, something to eat, get ready for that race, and we'll be right back.
Hey man, I got that new TMX Thrustmaster wheel. It's going down.
Xbox One?
I can't wait to play when I get home.
You'll let me play?
Yeah, I mean, after I play first. No.
You know, I'll race it for it.
Well, I have it home.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to round 2 of the Formula SimRacing Pro Championship. We're here for the Chinese Grand Prix. Qualifying has already been done. We're just getting ready for the race now. For those who've missed the qualifying session, my name is Felix from Delft, and I'm joined here in the commentary booth by Ian Breslin.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Qualifying was amazingly tense between the Go Speed and iSimRS drivers. I think that's gonna be even better in the race. What do you think is gonna be the main strategy here for the drivers?
Well, I think for the choice is really between a one-stop and a two-stop. For the one-stop, you would have to be really nursing your tires and trying to not push it, and not follow too closely behind people and things like that. But you may be better off on a two-stop strategy where you can aggressively use a set of medium tires followed by the hard compound tires. Now, the hard compound tires, they're lasting quite a long distance. We saw that in the ACA race earlier on today. So it could even depend upon your track position at the time and whether you're in clean air or not.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something to look out for. The tires are sensitive, definitely, especially considering these long left-hander or right-hand corners that this track has, turn 1, 2 and turn 12, 13. Those corners definitely wear those tires out a lot. And also the fast left-handers of turn 8 and the right-hander turn 7 definitely wear your tires a lot. And that's going to be a challenge for the drivers. Let's see how they will cope. Warm-up session is now commencing, and let's have a look at who is the quickest on track for that. So right now, David Mrocek leading that session. 1 minute remaining right now. Mrocek almost 4/10 quicker, but like I always say, these warm-up session you always have to take with a little bit of a grain of salt, because you don't know what fuel they are running on. You don't know what kind of pushing they are doing on their laps. Maybe they're just pushing really hard, just showing themselves, hey, I'm the quickest on this track, and then in actual race don't really show that pace. But it's proving to be at least promising for Mrocek right now, and Hutchinson as well up there in P3.
Well, this is it. I mean, if you go into a warm-up and you've put in the laps and you feel like you've gotten a much better sense of the car from qualifying, that can be a morale boost to you for the start of the race. So it can actually mean quite a difference for a driver if they do perform well in the warm-up session.
Yeah, I definitely can. So with the warm-up session over now, will Mrocek be able to challenge for the win, do you think?
I certainly wouldn't rule him out.
Yeah.
I think any of the drivers from the top 4 drivers there in that session, they were extraordinarily close, separated by only 2/10.
Yeah, we had an amazing qualifying session, and just switch to the race session as well. So we're gonna get ready for this race. Drivers are going to line up on the grid to get ready for their formation lap. After the formation lap, we will obviously start this race 45 laps. Like we said earlier, probably gonna be a 1 or 2 stop. Here we go. Formation lap underway, and leading that formation lap is Thomas Satherley. Ian, can you quickly run us down the grid a little bit further?
Sure thing. In pole position today, we have Tom Satherley, followed up closely behind by his teammate Coleman. Mrocek then behind him, alongside his teammate Mark Hutchinson, bringing up number 4th. Romer Tissing then in 5th place in the Go Speed team again. Joe Pittas then following up behind him. Marek Godek then behind him, with Harley Hamnet then on the next spot behind him. Cameron Roger then followed closely behind by Lazaro. And then behind him we have Nicola and Oldenmacher. Luca D'Amelio then sharing a grid slot alongside Peter Schultz. Victor Ivanov following up behind him. Kostas Galamantas is then following on behind him alongside Kevin Morville. Then we have Philip Anderson and Bogdanov then following up behind him, with Liam de Waal taking up the last place on the grid there. He's serving a penalty, 16th place grid penalty, I believe it is.
Indeed.
And then we have two drivers who I believe are starting from the pit lane, Philip Kraus and Alexandro Quinte.
Indeed. So I think a main challenger, at least for the win in Melbourne, was Liam de Waal. Will be starting down in P20. It will be interesting to see what he is able to do during the length of this race. Will he be able to get up to the P10? Points start from P15, of course, already. So I guess that's his main goal, to get to that P15 and score some points at least. But I'm sure he wants to get some good points as well. So maybe top 10 is in there for him. Starting on the hard tires, of course, as you can see in the next to the tire quite nicely. All the drivers down from P12 are starting on the hard compound.
Yeah, a little bit of a guilty pleasure for me is watching a driver who's out of position making their way up through the grid. So I'll be keeping an eye on Liam now for the rest of the race, because he should be an exciting one to watch.
Definitely. As we say that, Tom Sedderly and Matthias Koolman have already lined up in their grid slots, getting ready to start this race. Now it's just waiting for all the other drivers to line up. You can see Philip Kraus getting out of his pit box to get to the pit lane to do his start from there as well. All the tension. Yeah, go ahead.
It's an absolutely enormous amount of time to be waiting on the front row there.
Definitely, his brakes will be cooling down. Now, everybody's slotted in their grid slots. As we wait for the lights to come on. Here we go. Got 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and we are racing here for race 2 of the Pro Championship. Seems to be a good start for Thomas Sedderly, already into turn 1 first, but a bad start for Matthias Koolman, who's getting swarmed by the ISIMRS drivers of David Mrocek and Mark Hutchinson. João Pita is right behind that as well. Right now only lost 1 place to Mrocek, so still a pretty decent start for Mrocek. A bit further down the field, seems to have gone past pretty cleanly as well. Not a lot of incidents, and all the drivers down into the first couple of corners. Now an ISIMRS driver there battling.
Oh, we have contact and collisions between Lucas D'Amelio and Peter Schultz there. Got a little bit racy through that section.
Indeed, Rumer Tissing right now going side by side with João Pita through turn 8. And now through turn 9, still side by side. Turn 10 isn't going to work. No, Rumer Tissing has to back out. And now Cameron Roger right behind him, also putting on the pressure.
Great start from Cameron Roger there to make up so many positions.
Indeed, it is. Rumer Tissing has to watch out right now. A lot of drivers behind him, and there's a bit of a gap to the driver in front of him. He won't be getting as much slipstream as Cameron Roger behind him.
And close behind Cameron Roger then is Harley Hamnet, who's really quite close to Roger. We'll be maybe thinking about making a move here, maybe. He's having a look.
Isn't able to complete that move. Had a little look, a peek indeed, but race is still long to go. 45 laps in total. We're only in lap 1, so a lot of chances it will present itself to him.
I'm very pleased to say that we've had no casualties on the first lap, which is a testament to the quality of these drivers.
Indeed, great start of this race. Now Marek Godek is going side by side with Harley Hamnet. Lost the position there, went a bit wide, and now has to watch out for Christian Lazaro right behind him as well. I think he's managed to not lose that position. However, Lazaro goes deep into turn 4, late braking. And great move there by Lazaro. A little bit of a tap on the outside that makes Marek Godek lose another position probably to Valerio Nicolella, down into P11 right now already for Marek Godek. Not the best first 2 laps for him so far.
No, absolutely not. He'd be kicking himself as well for that that little tussle, because it's cost him not just the place for Lazaro, but he's also lost the place to Luca D'Amelio there.
Indeed, he has. Good start so far from Liam de Waal, already up to P15. So down from the pit lane into P15 in only 1.5 laps, I think it can be qualified as a nice start for him.
Absolutely.
Definitely somebody to look out for the rest of the race. Cameron Rogers going to make the move on Roemer Tissing into turn 14. Roemer Tissing has the inside now for turn 16. Will he be able to keep that going through there? It's a tight corner, and no, Cameron Rogers manages to take the position now down the start-finish. But I don't think Roemer has any chance to make a move back onto Cameron.
No, I think Roemer chose the better part of valor there and backed out of that because he was coming into that turn with oh, and has he run wide there? Yes, he did.
Run wide, yeah.
He's gonna have a tussle here with Lazaro as well.
Yeah, that's not helping his cause at all. Down to P8, lost a position to Harley Hamnet there, and now has to watch out for Lazaro. We've seen him do this before. Here he goes again, deep dive into turn 6 it is, and wasn't able to pull it off entirely. This time Roemer Tissing, nice defensive driving there, also late braking and took the speed through the corner. But Lazaro, I think, has found a nice spot to make some overtakes there.
He certainly has. Caught a couple of people napping already, but wasn't able to get it to work on Roemer Tissing.
Indeed he has. So Tom Satherley right now leading the race still with 1.6 seconds to David Mrocek. Good pace from him so far, and looking solid for the start of this race.
Indeed, and we're seeing a little bit of a gap then developing between the top 4 drivers, but nothing too much at this point. Still anybody's race, and of course all of this is also dependent upon strategy. So, you know, at this stage of the race it may look like Tom Satterley is having a comfortable race here, but well, let's wait and see.
Definitely, as Lazaro was able to pull the move on Roemer Tissing down into corner 14 it is, but Tissing has the DRS now, but I don't think he has the top speed.
No, he doesn't.
He wasn't really closing into Lazaro there. Down the main straight, even with the DRS open, and Lazaro had no DRS, so it seems like the Go Speed drivers are running a bit more downforce than the rest of the pack, at least compared to Lazaro here for Roemer Tissing, and isn't really able to make that overtake. And I think Lazaro looking good for now, at least compared to Roemer Tissing.
Yeah, I do wonder if maybe Roemer is running with a slightly different setup than the other guys from his team, because they don't seem to have any problems with their top speed. But yeah, it's an interesting one.
Indeed, it is. Marek Godek down into P11, right behind Luca D'Amelio, looking to make an overtake on him. Might be able to if he gets a good exit out of turn 12 here. You can see he's struggling, even with the softer tire compared to Luca D'Amelio, who has started on the hard compound. We're only 4 laps into the race, so you would think that the soft tires are still at least quick enough compared to the hards. Now you can see not closing in that much compared to D'Amelio. And D'Amelio to pull that move, yeah.
D'Amelio does have DRS at the moment because he is cutting close enough to Roemer Tissing, so there isn't that speed differential that we might associate with it there, so he wasn't really able to close that gap all that much.
Indeed. This time though, on the main straight, D'Amelio has no DRS, and Marek Godek does, but indeed, again, not closing in that much. So Godek's got to find a spot where he has, where he can utilize that soft tire a lot compared to the hard tire, and perhaps get a good acceleration out of the corner and then make the move in the next corner on the braking, for example, that we saw Christian Lazaro do.
And Godek is coming under a little bit of pressure now from behind as well. We've got Valerio there just right behind him, and I tell you, if Godek has him as close as behind him when he comes into that back straight, he could be in trouble.
He could indeed be. Nicolella also on that soft tire, of course. So, D'Amelio is, to be honest, doing a really great job on that hard tire. He's the first of the hard runners, and up to P10 with 2 soft runners behind him. He can keep this pace up. And also keep his tires alive, and he might be on for a great strategy.
Absolutely, and especially this is the earlier stage of his run, and you know this will be the time when the biggest difference exists between the soft and the hard compound tire. So he's doing remarkably well to be able to maintain that.
Yeah, indeed. Rumer Tissing and Christian Lazaro were battling there again. I think Rumer Tissing made the move on Lazaro into turn 14 and got the position back that he lost just a couple of laps ago.
That's excellent. That's well done by him. He's obviously had a little bit of a hairy couple of opening laps, but he's gotten the head down and he's putting in the laps that he needs to now to be able to recover from those earlier mistakes.
He has indeed. Gap at the front. Thomas Sadlerly still almost 2 seconds ahead of David Mrocek, who isn't really able to catch the leader of this race so far. So maybe SimRacing has to start thinking a little bit more about strategy. What can we do to put Sadlerly in a disadvantage compared to us on tires or fuel or whatever? They're gonna have to find a way to beat him.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's I think everybody is mainly focused on trying to maintain those soft compound tires, because they are going to chew through those at a massive rate of knots. They, if you push them too hard, you'll run out of a whole lot of grip towards the end of your first stint. So I think they're everybody's willing to allow the situation to continue at the moment, because they're hoping that later on in the race that this battle will really heat up.
Cameron Rogers battling with Zhao Pitais. They were bargy through turn 14, a bit of tire banging, and now into turn 1. No, not an opportunity there for Cameron Roger, and yeah, he's got to watch out for the driver behind him as well, because that's also an ISIMRS driver of Harley Hamnet, and he will be looking eager to capitalize on any mistakes that these two drivers in front of him are going to make.
Absolutely, but Cameron is keeping right up close behind Pate there now, so this will be interesting to see if he can keep it together for the rest of this lap, because he could possibly try to make another move towards the end of the lap.
He could indeed. Now let's see, this exit is pretty important, because you can see he loses quite a bit of time to the driver in front of him.
He did.
Now it's a little bit of a train still right behind these guys, all the way up to P10, P11. Now let's see how Cameron gets out of this turn 12, turn 13. Very important for him to get a good exit. Opens up the DRS.
A pretty good exit.
Yeah, but not closing in a lot.
Don't think he's going to be able to have a look here now. Forces him out of position to maybe take a slightly compromising line. Maybe now on the pit straight here, Cameron may have a chance if he can get this exit nailed. Loses a little bit of time. I don't think he's going to be able to have a look down into turn 1. Just that little bit too far back.
Indeed, and now there's another driving queuing up right behind them, which is Rumer Tissing. Like we said, he's found back his form and looking to overtake. Cameron, mistake there.
Oh!
Now he's going to have to watch out for Harley Hamlet behind.
Harley Hamlet is all over the gearbox of him going into that turn. And Zhao is just going to hopefully try and put a little bit of a gap between him and Cameron. Break that DRS. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to, though. Cameron again starting to close up. Cameron, oh, and another little bit of a shimmy there. Bit of a tank slapper there. And Harley Hamlet now, if he can keep onto him on through this and get through this turn with a nice exit, he has a chance to be able to get past him, because Cameron seems to be really struggling with those tires at the moment.
Yeah, he definitely is. Already is going defensive at the start of the back straight. Now Hamlet has opened the DRS, closing in. I think he's going to be able to make the move.
You're only going to have a look.
No, Rumer Tissing, on the curb. almost runs into the back of Harley Hamnet and manages to steer clear of him. But definitely great racing and tension unfolding here.
I think Cameron will be very happy to see the end of this stint because he is struggling with those tyres at the moment. Harley is really giving him a rear view mirror full of that green and black car at the moment, but again, Cameron just seems to have that little bit of an edge through sector 2 from the Harley Hamlet there, so he's able to pull away from Hamlet and then closing the gap up to Joe, but can't quite translate that into sector 3. This track, it's sector 3 is really where your best opportunities for overtakes really exist. Maybe down into turn 1, but it's certainly all in a line of where these best overtaking opportunities are, and sector 2 isn't really where you get many opportunities to overtake.
Yeah, indeed. A lot of long, flowy corners there. Cameron Roger this time around has a bit more breathing room compared to the car behind him, but I'm sure Harley Hamlet won't be giving up easily. And I think in the background there, Christian Lazaro is getting overtaken by Luca D'Amelio. Yes, indeed he is.
Obviously, Luca's tyres they've had their day, and now Luca's is definitely the tyres to be on at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. And Lazaro indeed comes into pit lane. I think he's the first driver to pit, so let's have a look where he comes out after his pit stop. Now surely he's going to go for the... Well, it's 35 laps remaining. I think it's a hard call. There we go. He goes to the hard tires. Is he going to go to the end of the race on those?
It's technically possible. But I don't know. He may be better off at that point going to a medium tire and maybe trying to make the most of it, because he will have to kind of be on ice with those tires later on, especially if he wasn't able to get those soft compound tires to be able to last longer than the 10 laps. He may have a hard time trying to stretch those hard tires to last at the end of the race. Yeah,
totally agree there. He does have a lot of clean air in front of him right now, though, so an undercut is definitely possible. Also, the drivers that he was fighting with, Rumer Tissing, Harley Hamlet and Cameron Roger, are fighting with each other, so they might lose a bit of time here compared to Christian Lazaro, who has loads of clean air in front of him and can get those laps down. Now Cameron is in trouble, I think.
Liam DeWall again is he's up to 12th position now at the moment. He's only running 17 seconds behind.
Harley Hamlet spun around and collected by Rumer Tissing there. Positions lost for him, and that's a shame.
Tom Satherley's in the pits, so we have our race leader coming in to make his first stop of the day as well.
So a lot of action unfolding at the same time here.
He's put on the hard compound tires as well, so it'll be interesting to see whether he's going to try to go for the one stop or is he going for the two.
Indeed. See where he comes out right in front of Kevin Morville and right behind Phil Anderson. So not the best place to be here. Right in between, right behind an iSim RS driver as well. So he'll be trying to, I guess, hold up Tom Satherley a little bit for his teammates, Davin Brocek and Hutchinson.
Absolutely.
Now, Mrocek, still a yellow flag in sector 2. Don't see exactly where that yellow flag has come from. A blue car somewhere out in the dirt. Not sure what's happened there. Going again right now. Let's take a look at the incident between Harley Hamlet and was it Mark Hutchinson a little bit earlier. So here we go. They were coming into the last hairpin, then oversteer for Hamnet, and then just collected by Romanticing. And then spun the car around. Got going again, but it definitely is not going to help his race.
At the moment, at the front of the race, we have Coleman and Mark Hutchinson. Mark Hutchinson is all over the back of Coleman here.
Indeed he is. Coming into turn 6.
Oh!
A little bit of contact there. Hutchinson able to keep the lead, but Coleman, I think maybe even lifted a little bit there.
Was that a little bit of a netcode issue there? Maybe a bit of lag or something? Because
perhaps, could be indeed. But it seems like the drivers are okay. Cars are still going. Nothing much has changed there.
So Mark now takes the lead of this race, and he is, he's at his best when he's at the front. So let's see what he can do now. He has clean air in front of him. Can he get those tires to go any further? And every lap that he does on those soft compound tires now helps him just that little bit later on if he's maybe thinking about trying to do a one-stop strategy.
Yeah, indeed. Tom Satherley, let's see where he's right now in the field, right behind Kostas Galanamatis. Going for the dive up to turn 14. Ooh. Kostas turns in. Satherley able to back out of the move in time, but risky move there from Thomas Satherley, but he has to do that. Otherwise the drivers of Mark Hutchinson and Pittais are going to be able to perhaps overcut overcut him. Now also into the pit lane was Matthäus Koolman. He rejoins in P16. P17 right behind Quinte.
He's lost out quite a lot of time there.
Yep, compared to Satherley, he's almost 10 seconds behind.
I wonder, did he maybe have a moment somewhere and maybe lose a couple of seconds there? 'Cause that's a bit bigger than I was expecting it to be. Unless the undercut is that powerful, perhaps.
Could be.
Tom Satherley is now running 14.2 seconds behind Mark Hutchinson, so maybe it is that the undercut is quite strong here.
Yeah, as it seems right now, Hutchinson would be rejoining, yes, around where Matthäus Koolman is. So looks to be a good strategy for Satherley, but you have to still take into consideration he's going to be going longer. If he does the one stop, he's going to be going quite a bit longer on this tire. But here is David Mrocek coming for an overtake on Thomas Satherley. They go side by side, almost 3 wide, with Luca D'Amelio or Kostas Galanamatis right in front of them. Mrocek able to get past in a spectacular manner there around the Formula SimSport driver. And now Thomas Satherley has to also get past because he's fighting for position with David Mrocek.
And we've had Mark Hutchinson in from the lead, making his first stop of the day. And earlier on, we mentioned that Luca D'Amelio was the highest running driver running the hard compound tires. He is now leading the race.
He is indeed. So looking good still for that driver. Had a bit of an unfortunate race in Australia. Had to DNF from there. And looking good so far in this race. Obviously isn't exactly in the leading pack, but might be able to get a good amount of points here and maybe even a top 5 finish.
And also then just behind him at the moment is Liam DeWall, so
yeah,
it's been a good race so far for those who are starting on the hard compound tires. The question is, will they be able to translate that track position into something a little bit more permanent at the end of the race?
Yeah, indeed. Now, Tom Satherley, he's got to get past this Formula SimSport driver. If he doesn't, he's just going to see David Mrocek in front of him and just drive away, pull away. Here we go, Satherley down the back straight. SimSport driver isn't even defending for him. So, an important move, but a relatively easy move for Tom Satherley made there.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that people don't entirely understand, that sometimes these battles that they have to take during when they're further back down the grid, they're incredibly important to be able to clear some of those back markers, or not even back markers, but people who haven't stopped and they're on a different strategy. It's so important to clear them as quickly as you possibly can.
Yeah, it definitely is. Talking about different strategy, Philip Kraus and Liam de Waal are pretty close to each other on track. Also, Tom Oldermanger right in front of them. 2 TCS Edge Esport drivers and 1 flag-to-flag driver. I wonder who's going to be the quickest of these guys. We know Liam de Waal is a quick driver. He's shown it in Melbourne already. Right now, seems to be stuck a little bit behind his teammate Tom Oldermanger.
So at the moment, our effective race leader is Marocek, who is ahead of Tom Satherley.
Indeed, he is doing a great job so far. And Satherley is still sticking on to him, but obviously lost a bit of time when he got stuck behind Kostas Kalinamatis in front of him. Now 31 or 30 laps to go. Luca D'Amelio still leading the race. At least for now, provisionally, you would say David Morcek is leading this race with only 6 seconds to Luca D'Amelio. So almost a pit stop lead, or pit stop amount of lead for David Morcek compared to Luca D'Amelio. Still though, like we've talked about before, these hard tires are gonna have to go for a long stint if they want to do that one stop. If they want to... Ooh, what was that off the track? Philip Kraus into the grass.
Ooh. He doesn't seem to have lost too much time as a result of it. But, yeah, you won't want that to happen again.
No, indeed. And right behind David Morcek and right in front, Tom Satherley again. So Tom Satherley's got another car that's on a different strategy right in front of him. And surely he's gonna have to get past this guy again as quickly as possible. Otherwise he'll lose the connection to David Morcek.
You would hope now that, or at least Tom Satherley would be hoping that he can clear him on this this DRS straight. But it doesn't look like he will be able to.
Yeah, Philip Kraus has the DRS as well from David Morcek in front. You could see though on the braking that the tires of Tom Satherley are so much fresher and so much quicker.
He's losing so much time here behind Philip Kraus. He's just itching to get ahead of him and keep up to with Marocek. Oh, little luck into turn 1, but had to back out of it. I think that wasn't actually an attempt to overtake. I think that was him trying to say to Philip Kraus, look, you're slowing us both down here. You're on a different strategy than I am. Why not let me out of the way?
Exactly. But he has to be smart as well, though. Because he knows that if he loses too much time with this, he loses the connection with Morcek. So he has to choose one spot and then just use everything. He's got the DRS, maybe even the fuel. And then just make sure you get past there and don't try to make small moves, small peaks at every single corner where you can't really overtake, especially like we talked about in Sector 2, you can't really overtake there. You just need to make sure you get close here, out of turn 13 and 14, 12 and 13 I should say, sorry. Get the good run. I think he has that good run so far and gets the DRS obviously from the car in front of him. And surely this is going to be a move for him. Here we go, down the inside. And that's move done for him. But again, quite a bit of time lost compared to the car in front of him, David Morcek. And we have a car stationary in Sector 2. That is Harley Hamnet. Harley Hamnet, I think, is out of this race.
Yeah, so he's out with suspension damage, it looks like.
Indeed. Let's see if we can get a quick replay of that. Here on board with Harley Hamlet coming out of turn 9-10. Wiggly car, and maybe had an incident before this point in time, which parks the car and gets back to the pit lane.
I do wonder if that was related to the incident that he had with Romer and Cameron earlier on in the race.
Could definitely be. Was a bit of a hit on the rear suspension and might have damaged it a bit too much for him.
Speaking of Cameron Roger and Romer Tissing, they're in a nice little scrap here, just coming into the start of Sector 2. They've been having a real battle throughout the last 5 or 6 laps or so.
Yeah, the Romer Tissing has fallen back a lot though. Is that because of a slow pit stop? Because he was basically battling with Christian Lazaro in P16, and he's now like 5-6 seconds behind that driver, so
You're right.
must have made a mistake somewhere or something in the pit stops that caused him to drop quite a bit of places.
Both him and Cameron Roger together, so I'm wondering maybe did they have a little bit of a dance together somewhere?
Could be. Here we go though. Tissing has got the DRS, opens it nicely. Cameron goes to the inside line. Gonna be a difficult one. Heartbreaking for both of the drivers. Cameron still on the inside, and it's gonna be a difficult one for Tissing. A bit of sliding there for Roger. Tissing having a peek up the inside here into the last corner, doesn't decide to make the move. But now great exit out of the last corner. Cameron is surely gonna lose the position here. Down the start finish straight. Tissing has got the DRS.
Ooh.
Side by side through turn 1 and 2. Little bit of wheel banging.
That was a spicy one all the way around there.
Indeed. But Cameron Rogers still on top, and Tissing has got to find another place to make that overtake.
And just got word there that Lazaro has gotten the undercut as he was the first to pit.
Ah, indeed, it was.
That's how that's.
He pitted like lap 10 or something already. He was the first to pit, and
That's
like
right.
we said then as well, he had a lot of clean air, so managed to make that undercut work. It's a good strategy call for him and his team, but will they be able to get to the end of the race on that set of tires? That's the big
That's the question.
Yep.
It was almost going to be a three-way battle coming up here, I think, down for Lazaro.
Also, Mateus Commons and Christian Lazaro.
Oh, no. That was clumsy stuff. 3 going into that turn really doesn't work.
Oh, and they're not stopping as well. Lazaro wheel banging and stuff with, who's that? Mateus Commons, I think. Now, Bojan Bogdanov and Romer Tissing right behind them also having a look. And Cameron Roger also got passed by Romer Tissing there. So a lot happening down in the places for P14, 15, 16, all the way down to P19. You can see it on the track map as well. A big bunch of drivers all very close to each other on track.
David Morocek is really all over the back of Liam DeWall now as well, so he's starting to clear those drivers now and will put himself...
Oh, somebody has spun. Sorry to undercut you there. Alessandro Quintai has spun the car and DNF's Liam DeWall. Let's focus on him.
We have Satherley is also... Satherley's actually closed that gap up to Morocek a lot there of those few laps, so... he'll be hoping, runs a little bit wide, but he'll be really hoping to be able to clear Liam DeWall now and be able to keep that gap as small as he'd gotten it down to.
Yeah, indeed. Great work from Satherley so far, but again, there's a driver in between of them, and the driver won't be moving out of the way anytime soon, I think. So he's got to have to make the move on himself.
Liam probably has at least a decent amount of laps left in those hard compound tyres. They certainly won't be fresh anymore, but they certainly won't be falling off.
Indeed, pace is still good for him.
We still have 19 drivers running in this race. We've had 3 people retire so far. Peter Schultz, Harley Hamnet and Alessandro Contai. So it's been at least relatively clean throughout this race so far. But we're only 20 laps down through 45, so let's see how many people finish this race.
Yeah, indeed, almost at the halfway marker now. Whoa, Liam de Waal, Tom Oldermenger hard defending. Oldermenger almost spinning out because of the DRS opening there, but manages to make the move stick. And Liam de Waal was definitely not giving that position up for free.
Certainly not. He probably lost, I don't know, the guts of half a second there from that, so I'm not entirely certain that was a move worth defending as hard as that.
Indeed, let's take a quick look at that replay. Oof, yeah, late defending, but I think still fair defending from Liam de Waal there.
Absolutely. And these guys are they're fighting for position, but they're both on 2 different strategies there, so that's why I thought it was a bit odd that he would choose to defend that hard in that situation. Stern but fair.
Indeed.
The Satherley is now basically just over a second behind Marocek now, so it's still anyone's race here.
Definitely is, and Tom Oldermenger right now getting passed by David Marocek, not defending. Ooh, late braking for Oldermenger. I think he wasn't really expecting Marocek to move back on the braking and almost hit the back of him. All went well in the end, but that was a bit close, too close for comfort for both of those drivers, I think.
So now Tom Satherley is in a very familiar situation in that he's got a driver between him and Marocek, and he needs to get past him as soon as he possibly can. At least from Satherley's point of view, maybe Tom will be a little bit more aware of the fact that he's got somebody coming up behind him, and maybe he won't be as caught out as he may have been there by Marocek.
Now, Satherley, surely he's going to have a good exit out of turn 12-13. And we'll be opening up the DRS. Does Tom Oldermenger have DRS? No, surely not compared to the driver in front of him. He does still have DRS from David Marocek. So that's going to make life for Tom Oldermenger or Tom Satherley a bit more difficult.
Something worth mentioning is that Coleman, who was at one point in the top 4, is now running down in 16th. I'm not entirely certain what happened to him. He had a few rough lap times in the last 4 laps or so, but whatever the problem was, he seems to have corrected that, and he's been in the 136.6s since then.
Yeah, indeed. Also a bit of a battle going on between Christine Sauer and Rumer Tissing. We missed the main part of it, so let's go for a quick replay and see what happened there. This thing, I think, made a pretty straightforward move on Lazaro down the back straight. Indeed, it was. And also the driver in front of him did the same thing, Coleman, on the other Invictus driver. So both Invictus just got overtaken by both of the Ghostspeed drivers. So good business being done for Ghostspeed Racing right now.
So up front, Luca D'Amelio starting to come under pressure now from Rocek. But Luca D'Amelio, of course, hasn't stopped yet in this race. Started on those hard compound tyres, and he's driven quite an innocuous race, but it's been a pretty good race so far for him.
Definitely has been. Now Rocek is gonna get past the leader of this race, Luca D'Amelio. He started on the hard tire and is still on those hard tires 24 laps into the race. Will he continue for much longer? Tom Sadlerly again in the same position where there's a car between him and the leader now of this race, David Rocek. Definitely gives a bit of a disadvantage for Thomas Sadlerly, but I'm sure he'll be able to find a way to crawl back up to the back of David Rocek and maybe challenge him for the lead of this race later on.
Yeah, he's each time he has had a bit of a gap appear between him and Rocek. He's been able to close it back up again, but it remains to be seen whether that was a symptom of traffic or whether that was just raw pace that Sadlerly has in his car. And let's wait and see what the once they both get out of the traffic. When, of course, Rocek is already out of traffic, but once Sadlerly clears Emilio, it'll be particularly interesting now to see if he can close that gap right back up again.
So Sadlerly gonna line himself up for the move here. I think Emilio still has DRS. Yes, he does. Maybe it's also a bit of a tactical play from David Rocek, just easing off the throttle a little bit so that look at Emilio still has the DRS from him to slow down Sadlerly a little bit further.
That'll be an interesting. Yeah, it's not a bad tactic if that's what he's doing.
Exactly. Maybe it's also just Emilio sticking around for just long enough to keep that DRS. But let's see what Sadlerly can do into turn one. Haven't seen much overtakes down here in this race so far, but also this time not going to happen. Perhaps into turn 6. We've seen Lazaro do it a couple of times already, so it's possible. We know it, but I think Sadlerly is a little bit too far back for that right now.
Yeah, I think so. What'll be interesting to see now is when the likes of Luca D'Amelio and Tom Oldenegger, when they actually make their stop, how far can they get these tyres to go? Can they stretch it out so that they can switch onto a soft compound tyre maybe, or are they just going to stick on the mediums and go from there? Because I don't think they'll, at this point, there's any chance that they'll be running anything other than a one-stop at this point. Yeah,
for D'Amelio, I would be really surprised if he starts to do a two-stop right now. Only 20 laps remaining in this race, so I guess he would be going to a set of mediums to play it somewhat safe. Could be going for the softs, but then he has to go for, I think, at least another 5 laps on these set of tires. Might be possible, but I think that's the more risky move to do.
Sadlerly gets the job done against Luca D'Amelio there now, so it's game on now.
Definitely is hammer time for Tom Sadlerly to close in the gap to David Rocek and try to battle with him directly instead of having a car in between him every time they get somewhat close.
Looking a little bit further down the field, Mark Hutchinson, who at one point was leading this race, is in 7th at the moment. The strategy hasn't really worked well for him so far. He's been caught up in a little bit more traffic than both Marocek and Satherley had to deal with. So he's a little bit out of contention at the moment, but I still wouldn't ever say that. I wouldn't ever rule Mark out from certainly a podium or a possibly even challenging for the win.
Yeah, indeed. And now Philip Krause and Hutchinson are closing into the back of that car of Liam de Waal. Philip hasn't stopped yet either, and Hutchinson has, obviously. So I would say Mark should be getting a move done relatively easy, but Phil has the DRS from Liam de Waal in front of him. So it's not going to be that easy.
I think Mark is going to have the benefit of a lot of these drivers making their one and only stop of the race reasonably soon.
Yeah.
And that'll leave him in a net third position. But he'll be guts of 10 seconds behind Tom Satterley at that point, so he'll be disappointed at when that gap shakes out.
And De Waal into the pits. He's the first of that main hard runner pack to go into the pit lane for its stop. Let's see what he's going to go on to. Ooh, almost missed his pit box there. Not the best way to position. Oh, and he did miss his pit box. Oh, that's not helping him.
Oh no.
Going to the medium tires, but lost a lot of time in the pit lane there.
That's an awful lot of time to lose, and that's a real shame for him. He's been running a really good race now so far, but it's going to send him right back down through the order. He's lost about maybe 10 seconds or so there.
Yeah, normal pit stop is about 23 seconds. He did it in 31. And, oh, I think he's parking the car. He did park the car, indeed. Oh, what's happening here down in P10? Rumour Tissing and Philip Anderson made contact there. Seems like a bit of lag was involved there. Everything starting off right here, and Rumour Tissing dropping down a position there. That's
a real shame for Liam de Waal there now, I have to say. Not quite sure what the reasoning for the DNF is, but certainly it was a body blow to his psychological battle to be able to make that mistake in the pit lane.
Right, so Satterley, Marocek, 2 seconds in between them. The pace of the two drivers, I think, isn't that different. Tom Satterley last lap 35.5, David Marocek 35.6. So Satterley is a bit quicker and closing in. So that's good to see for the Ghost Speed driver. Will he be able to keep that pace up though?
And Phil Krause is now in the pit lane as well. And he's coming back out on the medium compound tires.
Yep, indeed. So that is, I think, going to be the strategy for most of these drivers. D'Amelio still P3, hasn't stopped. Oldemenger P4 hasn't stopped. Gostas Kalonamatis, Victor Ivanov also haven't stopped. So those are the drivers to keep an eye out on. When will they be pitting and on what tire will they be going to?
And now Mark Hutchinson is in a little bit of clear air, so we've been able to kind of see what sort of times he's running on, and he's just that little bit slower than the two lead drivers at the moment here. So barring some sort of incident between those two drivers, I think Mark's chance for the win here today is evaporating quite fast.
Yeah, definitely is down in P5. Doesn't seem to be the best position, considering it's like 15 seconds to David Marocek and Thomas Satterley, who are on at least similar strategy to him.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the only hope that he would have is that those two drivers are on a two-stop strategy, which is possible, but I think they'll won't want to be doing that unless they have to.
Indeed. Matthäus Koolman and Rumour Tissing both got past Philip Anderson there. And dropping down to P11 for him. And Ghost Speed is still doing relatively well. Sadly, of course, in the P2. Tissing and Coleman, after some sort of incidents or time loss for both of those drivers, managed to get back to the top 10. So definitely not too disappointing for them.
Yeah, a bit of a mixed bag for them. They'll be disappointed with the earlier incidents, but they'll be also a little bit pumped up now by this recovery drive that they've both done. So it's I'm sure there's mixed emotions behind that helmet.
Indeed. The moment look at Emilio and Tom Holdermanger are fighting, they're basically both on the different strategy, and they both go into the pits right now. So this is gonna be the moment. What tires are they going to go for, and where are they going to come out?
I would imagine they're both going to go into the medium compound tires, but maybe one of them will be brave and try to tiptoe around on the soft compound tires.
Indeed, I think Amelio is on the softs. Yes, he is.
He is.
And Oldermanger is on the medium. So this is interesting.
Ding dong, have we got a battle here?
We surely have. Amelio rejoins in P7, about 5 seconds behind João Pitaias. Surely he's going to be able to close that gap down in the course of 15 laps on the soft tire. But will he be able to get further? I think 34 seconds. It's like 20 seconds to P3, so podium. If he gets more than a second a lap quicker, might be possible, but he has to get past all those drivers as well. And we've seen overtaking, even between strategies, is definitely not easy.
I think one of the things he's going to have to deal with is those last 2 or 3 laps on those tires. They're going to be absolutely worn out by the end of it. It'd be interesting to see how aggressive he is on these earlier laps, and does he feel like he's going to need to nurse those tires in the early stages to be able to get them to last till the end of the Grand Prix.
Indeed. Let's keep an eye out on him. He's going to be definitely the one to watch. Tom Oldenmenger on the medium tire, playing it a little bit more safe, but I guess he still also has a good chance to make some overtakes compared to the drivers that are in P5, 6, P4 and 3 maybe even. Now Philip Anderson is getting overtaken by Valerio Nicolella. Rumer Tissing is battling with Philip Kraus. I think also lost the position there. But Tissing struggling a little bit more now. Obviously Kraus did just make his stop as well onto the medium tire, so you would expect him to be quick. Now Kostas Galamatis also pitted for his final and only stop. Down into P13 right behind Cameron Roger, also on the medium tires. So he will be challenging him for sure. And I think the only driver that hasn't made his pit stop yet is Philip Anderson. He's still on those hard tires that he started with.
That's it's an impressive feat to be able to stretch them out that far. Let's have a little look at his lap times to see just how he's been doing. Predictably, his lap times have been degrading, although maybe not as much as you would think. He's presumably trying to stretch it out now so he can use those softer compound tires at the end. Doesn't have the confidence that Luke D'Amelio has to be able to use them until the end, though.
Yeah, indeed. Gap at the front, Mrocek, Sadali, still 2 seconds. So I think they're trading blows a little bit. And one's one lap a bit quicker, the other one is the next lap a bit quicker. They're pretty much the same pace right now. Maybe they're saving tires, or one of them is saving tires a little bit, or fuel a little bit. And then at the last couple of laps might be able to go for a last attempt at the lead of that race.
So if you were Tom Satherley now, what would be your strategy for getting in front of Mrocek?
Difficult. Depends also a lot on what kind of fuel you have still left in the tank, how much you have left in the tank, and how your tires are. and how you think you can manage those tires for the rest of the stint. Still 13 laps to go. If I had the feeling that I am pretty confident that I have a lot of fuel still left in the tank and can have quite a bit of extra fuel at the end of the race, I would just, for at least the next couple of 5-6 laps, take it easy. Keep the gap at around 2 seconds. Don't waste your tires by getting a bit too close and then getting in the dirty air of the car in front. And then when you get the opportunity to make that pass, because you have the better tires and a bit more fuel than your rival in front, then I would go for that move and try to save up everything for one specific moment and then try to make that move.
Luca D'Amelio on the soft compound tires is really closing up to the gap of João Pires there at the moment in 4th place, so that's going to be an interesting battle.
And this definitely, Matthäus Koolman, Philip Kraus, a bit of looking argy-bargy, but not a lot happening. Obviously Kraus is on the quicker tire.
Interestingly, is that Philip put in the fastest sector 3 of everyone there now, just in the last sector. So that's he's even faster than some of the guys on the soft compound tires. He's had a particularly good race, especially given the fact that he started from the pit lane. So that's a remarkable position for someone to be in.
It surely is, and looking good on pace as well, obviously on that medium tire. So will have the advantage to most of the drivers on the field, but there is quite a few drivers also on the soft tire as well. Now Satherley is dropping pace a little bit. Last lap compared to Morcek was basically the same, but the gap has fallen down slightly.
Having said that, he's still keeping in touch. He's closing that gap just a little bit back to where it was now, so it's real cat and mouse bit now here between these two.
Yeah, it is indeed. They're basically bouncing back and forth between one being faster in this part of the track, the other being faster in the other part of the track, and like that. They're just keeping the gap around the same 1.8, 2.1 seconds. Now only 11 laps remaining, including this one. So D'Amelio in P5, his pace obviously has been a lot quicker than the drivers in front of you. Give a little bit of a taste. His last lap was a 1:35.4. The lap time of the driver in front of him, João Pires, was a 1:35.8, so almost half a second quicker than João Pires. Surely he's gonna be able to make that move for P4 here. I don't think he's gonna be close enough to Mark Hutchinson to really challenge him for the position, the last podium position. I'm very cautious about Luca D'Amelio getting those tires all the way to the end of this race. I think there was a 15 or 16 laps that he needed to do on those. At least.
That's a tall order, and if he has to get too racy with someone as well while he's trying to stretch those out, gonna have a bad time.
Yeah.
And even saying that, I think it's worthwhile noting that Tom Oldenmenger is keeping that gap to Luca D'Amelio at the moment. So if he's keeping the gap now, when this gets down to the latter stages of the race, it's going to be very, very tight between these three drivers.
Yeah, I think you're very right there. Oldenmenger is going to probably have the best tires compared to the two drivers in front of him at the end of this race, so might be able to snatch up 2 positions if he plays it smart here.
Tom Satherley closing the gap just a little bit up the front now, so the gap stands at 1.5 seconds. Again, not too close that he can start having a look, but maybe starting to gear up for an attack maybe in 1 or 2 laps' time?
Yeah, I think that's a fair call. Needs to make sure, of course, that those tires aren't worn too much.
And I'd say that both of those two drivers have had a remarkable race, regardless of who wins. They've just been in a pace of their own, really. Even from during qualifying all the way through the race so far, they've just been on their own. Mark Hutchinson and Coleman were there in qualifying, and maybe the strategy didn't suit them in the race, but these two have had quite a race.
Yeah, definitely. They have been in a league of their own, but also have been during the pit stop phases have been within the pack of other drivers with other strategies, and it's been a little bit close with other drivers as well. We saw Tom Satherley almost almost fly off the track when he got past Liam de Waal, but everything has come to this point still safely, and now 9 laps to go for these two drivers.
Looking a little bit back down through the grid there, we have in 10th and 11th place, we have Nicola and Galamantis are really the closest battle on track at the moment. Coming onto the back straight there, they're maybe going to have a little look down here now. Galamantis is having a little bit of a look, he's having a go. Maybe side by side coming in. It looks like he's got the job done. Yeah. Good move there from Galamantis.
Yeah, great job by the Greek driver from Ormila Simsport. Up to P10 he goes. Definitely will be happy with those amount of points.
And he's on the medium compound tyre now, and he's only 4 seconds behind Romer Tissing, so Romer could come into a little bit of pressure here come the latter end of this Grand Prix.
Yes, indeed. Now, Tom Oldenmenger is pretty close to Luca D'Amelio. Are his tires already worn out too much?
I think they might be. And we saw most drivers were taking off the soft compound tires at around the 10 lap mark or so. And we saw 1 or 2 drivers who were going a little bit further. Mark Hutchinson and Coleman in particular were the ones who ran probably the longest with those soft compound tyres. Now, obviously, at the end of the race, the car's a lot lighter, so it doesn't have as much of an impact on the tyre wear, but I think Luca has really seen the end of those tyres as coming a lot faster than he would have liked.
Yes, definitely. And Oldenmenger is putting on the pressure right now.
Could be close enough to have a little bit of a look into turn 1. Fixes and hills out and thinks the better of it and trying to make a late braking move. But you really think at this point it's only a matter of time for Tom Oldenmenger to be able to get by Luca D'Amelio. There's still 7 laps to go in this race, and Luca, I don't think is going to have those tyres last that length of time.
No, I don't think so either. It's gonna be 7 laps to go, so it's gonna be a difficult task for him. And you can see he's not even really closing into the driver in front of him, Kaupi tyres anymore, which he had been doing before.
I do wonder at this point as well. If you look a little bit further down through the grid, if Luca may be under pressure from some of these other drivers further down at this point, if he's having this much problems with the tyres at this stage of the race, for those last 2 or 3 laps, how slow is he going to be at that point?
Yeah, Philip Kraus isn't far away either, and even as you can see in the background, Matthäus Koolman isn't too far back either. Oldermenger having a peek there into turn 14, but decides not to make the move yet. But you can definitely see D'Amelio is going to be struggling, and I don't think he's gonna be able to stick onto this position for much longer.
Yeah, he's just a little bit... looks a little bit worse for wear in most sections of the track at this point, and Tom just looks like he's just so much more comfortable with the car. He's able to put the power on early compared to Luca D'Amelio, so it really is a ticking clock for Luca D'Amelio at this point.
The gap at the front again hasn't really changed. 1.9, 2.1 seconds between the two drivers of David Mocek and Tom Sadlerly. So that is still relatively static.
Maybe this time, if Tom is able to get a good enough exit. Because at this point now, Luca doesn't have DRS, and it's going to be tight. And Tom is going to make a move around the outside. Can he get by before the braking section is over? D'Amelio holding up the inside line. Oh, that was close. But Luca D'Amelio is ceding that position to Tom Oldenmeyer, so Tom now up to 5th position.
The better strategy called there by the TCS Edge Esport guys to put Tom Oldenmeyer on the medium tire. It's worked out brilliantly compared to the strategy of the soft tire for Luca D'Amelio. And like we said before, D'Amelio is going to have to watch out for Philip Kraus behind of him as well now. There's still 5 laps remaining, including this one. And if D'Amelio isn't careful with his tires, he might be able, or he might get overtaken by him as well.
I think he may even be having a risk there of Coleman as well. Coleman lapping about a second, just over a second faster than Luca at the moment. So it's a serious threat to Lucas there that he could have end up in 8th position.
Yeah, indeed.
And Tom Oldenmeyer now is taking the battle to João Vitas now. That's only a gap of about a second and a half there now. So Tom pushing for 4th position in this race, I think.
Yeah, I think he's got a good opportunity. 4 laps only, so if Pitaya has maybe saved up a little bit of his fuel to use in those last laps to retaliate and attack, perhaps he's still got a good chance to fend off Tom Oldenmeyer. But we've seen Tom has got the pace compared to at least D'Amelio, and D'Amelio had similar pace to João Pitaya before. So if he manages to get a good couple of laps in the next few laps, then he might be able to challenge him in the latter stages or the last couple of laps of this race.
There's a bit of a battle going on between Viktor Ivanov and Cameron Roger at the moment, further down the grid in 12th and 13th position. Cameron Roger gonna go around the outside, turn 1. Oh, that's gonna be Cameron Rogers' position in the end, I think.
It is indeed. RG Bargy through there, but great bit of battling between the two, and I don't think it's over yet. Viktor Ivanov right behind him. He's going to go for the late braking.
He's going to try and get him on the cutback, I think, but not.
Ooh, oversteer for Cameron there out of the corner. Oh, they make contact.
Oh, no! Oh, no! And that's Cameron Rogers' race over. The rear wing is off, and that, I'm afraid, is the end of his race. Viktor Ivanov is able to continue on, but Cameron Roger will not be happy about that.
He definitely won't be. Let's keep a look at Philip Kraus. He's going to get past Luca D'Amelio right here. Luca D'Amelio, nothing much he can do. Late braking.
Ooh!
That was a bit too overconfident there from Luca D'Amelio. Was too far back to really make that move. And considering the stage of his tires, definitely shouldn't be trying that as well. I think Mateusz Koolman is a bit too far back to make the move on D'Amelio in the next few laps. Only 3 laps remaining. Unless D'Amelio really drops a lot of pace right now. Let's have a look at that replay from Cameron Roger and Viktor Ivanov. Let's see what happened on board with Cameron. So Cameron had a bit of a difficult exit and then contact with Viktor Ivanov. And end of the race for him.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he wasn't entirely aware of where the other driver was, but it looks like he, at least from that angle, it looked like he just moved across. And that was the end of his race.
Indeed, it is. Now, just 2 laps remaining in this race, and the lead of the race, I think, is solid for David Moracek. Tom Satterley has been within this 2-second window for basically the whole race behind David Moracek, at least since David Moracek got past him. And hasn't really been able to close in the gap enough to make the attack on David Moracek.
Yeah, he's just had that solid pace to be able to enjoy a comfortable lead and just keep Tom Satterley just a little bit out of reach at all times so that he wasn't in the DRS and able to challenge him at all.
Mateusz Koolman, he is right now about 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Oh no, actually only 2 seconds behind Luca D'Amelio.
Yeah, and he's been running at about 1.5 seconds faster than Luca D'Amelio for the last couple of laps, so I think it depends on whether Luca D'Amelio has been really holding back because he knew he was going to need to be able to stretch those tyres, or has he been using as much as he possibly can the whole time, because if he hasn't been saving anything on those tyres, he is going to have a very, very slow last couple of laps. And we mentioned this earlier on, that those tyres were having to go quite a long distance. It was very ambitious from Luke D'Amelio, but at the moment, it doesn't look like that strategy has paid off.
Indeed. Now the last lap is running, and I think Tom Holdermenger might still have a chance for P4 here. João Pitaes isn't very quick, and Tom Holdermenger is within the DRS range of the iSim RS driver. And I think he might have a go at the back straight. However, last lap, so this is his last attempt. And I'm sure he doesn't want to ruin his and also the race of João Pitaes with a too risky move as well.
Yeah, and he seems to be trying to keep that gap as wide as possible as Joe, but does he have the legs?
Yeah. Let's focus on the leader of the race though, David Moracek. He is coming through the last corner and will be taking the victory here at Shanghai. A victory for David Moracek and iSim RS Racing, the second in a row for iSim RS. And a great race from David Moracek here to finish first, right in front of Tom Satterley, and Mark Hutchinson will be coming to the line as well.
And Tom Holdermenger's having a go down into the turn, and he's got it. He's got it done.
Is he though?
Oh, but he's made a little mistake. Oh no!
Went too deep into the corner, and I think he doesn't have it now. Coming out of the last corner, if he gets a good exit, it's got to be a rush to the line. This is got to be very close, actually, but he doesn't have it, does he? Oh, he ran out of fuel. Did Chaputais run out of fuel? No, he finished the line. Okay, so I just thought he slowed down. Wow.
And Coleman got ahead of Luca D'Amelio before the end of the lap as well. So that is 7th place for Coleman, 8th place for D'Amelio.
Indeed, a lot of different strategies. Some of them working out, some of them not really working out, and it's at least great to see that there's so much different strategies going on, and also different strategies up to the last lap of the race, being very, very close to each other.
But a well-deserved victory there for Marocek. That was it looked comfortable, but I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure he was on the edge the whole time.
Yeah, definitely. It's not easy to lead a race for that long. You have to be concentrated all the way through. You can't make a single mistake because he had Satterley behind him for so long, and also he was 2 seconds behind him almost all the time. So he had no space to breathe whatsoever, that's just physically and mentally very, very challenging for these drivers.
Absolutely, and then don't underestimate both the physical and mental challenge in those for everybody back home, especially if you haven't had a chance to be able to try something like this. It is draining for everyone involved.
Yes, it definitely is, and I think that marks our cue to round it off for today. It's been a extremely nice race for us here in the Pro Championship. However, we've still got one race coming up for the day in a roughly 1 hour's time. The World Championship race will be kicking off its qualifying session, and after that the race session. 56 laps around this track they are going to go. Last time around, Jurne Simicic was able to win in Melbourne. Will he be able to do that again here in Shanghai, or will some other teams be able to challenge him? Edge Esports maybe, or Jean Alesi Esports Academy with Michele D'Alessandro and Mohamed Patel. Those are definitely challengers here for the win. Make sure you get ready for that in 1 hour's time here on our YouTube channel of 4-Minute Sim Racing. Be there or be square. I've been Felix van Delft, together joined by Ian Breslin, and we're signing off for now. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.